After their exhaustive review of the evidence, the grand jury deliberated over 2 days, making their final decision. They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
That was St. Louis County Prosecutor Robert McCulloch, the grand jury looking into the shooting death of unarmed black teenager Michael Brown by white Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson has ruled against an indictment for Officer Wilson. You're looking at a live shot of crowds outside of a police station in Ferguson. With an insider's look at the legal impact of this decision, we're joined by trial lawyer Charles Coleman Jr. Welcome to you, Charles.
Good evening, Lee.
What are your initial thoughts?
Well, first, I'd like to personally just send my condolences to the Brown family. I mean, this is a tragedy that we've been following for months, and now with this no true bill coming out of Ferguson, the news, I'm sure, is devastating to them. So I think, first and foremost, my thoughts are with them and the family and everyone around them in the Ferguson community.
Lots of talk about the evidence, an overwhelming amount of talks about him clarifying that there were different accounts all over the place. It seemed like he was really intent on making sure that the public understood that there was a lot of confusion in that area.
You know, when I listened to Bob McCullough's remarks, one of the things that I felt was I heard blame social media, blame the media, blame the news cycle, blame the witnesses, blame the rumor mill, blame everyone besides Darren Wilson. And that's what was so puzzling to me, is that I've never heard a prosecutor spend so much time talking about witnesses contradicting themselves and almost discrediting the strength of their presentation to the grand jury.
Mm-hmm. He talked about the use of force doctrine. Can you explain what that is and why that's so important in this case?
Sure. The use of force doctrine essentially dictates that an individual is allowed to use an equal amount of force in order to defend themselves to a threat that they see as imminent to their own bodily harm. And so essentially you can match whatever level of force is being used against you. You're not allowed to use lethal force, for example, against a force that you do not perceive to be lethal. But if you do feel that you are in an imminent danger of having lethal force being used against you, then you are allowed to respond with equal lethal force. And I think that that's what this grand jury presentation and analysis comes down to. What was Darren Wilson's intent? What was his belief? Did he really believe that he was in imminent danger of losing his life?
Mm-hmm. Were you shocked by any of the evidence that he presented?
I was. One of the things that shocked me in particular was talking about Michael Brown basically moving away and then somehow turning back and then coming toward the officer. At that point, when he says that Michael Brown stopped and Michael Brown began to approach the officer, I did question whether there were different avenues of force which could have been used by Darren Wilson in order to suspend the threat or at least de-escalate the situation rather than completely eliminating the threat by killing Michael Brown.